Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Megan, and I'm here today to talk to you about the effectiveness of self-assessment within schools and the successfulness that I have used of self-assessment in my own school on my placement. So as most of you probably already know, Black and Williams suggests that allowing children to reflect on their own ideas and experiences is essential to effective learning. Now, this research is what has created my ability and passion towards pushing for self-assessment in schools. So therefore, I decided to introduce my own self-assessment strategy while I've been on my placements. The strategy is called FACES. This is a strategy where at the end of the lesson, the children would put their faces next to the emoji which best describes how they felt the lesson went. It doesn't just look at their academic achievements, but it also looks at their behaviour. So there are 5 different faces that would be put on the board. And the first one is challenge me. The second one is I really enjoyed and I understood. The third one was I could have worked harder. Now this was a really important one for me because I would find sometimes I would track somebody in my own ratings as red, and then I would find that they did actually understand the work, but they felt they could have worked harder because they didn't behave as well as they could. The fourth one was I got confused, and the fifth face was I found this lesson really hard. Now, alongside my tracking, I use these faces to set 5-minute challenge time at the beginning of the next lesson. Now, this can't always be done with the amount of time that you have with every single lesson, so a lot of the time I would focus on literacy or numeracy. At the beginning of each lesson then, I would set tasks. There would be 3 groups. So the first one would be green, which would be an independent challenge for all the children who thrived in the previous lesson. The second one would be to work alongside an LSA who would provide extra support. And the third one would be for those children who found the lesson quite difficult and needed to work alongside the teacher to ensure their understanding. Now, these challenges can be taught through 2 different approaches. Back in February, I was lucky enough to do an elective placement in a school in Pembrokeshire where I was able to see the 4 purposes of the new curriculum being used throughout. I then decided that the challenges could be set to use these 4 purposes. Within each of these purposes, there is aspects that link directly to challenge throughout each of these. Therefore, you can set the challenges linked to these purposes to push for the new curriculum throughout your learning. The other approach is Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences. This is mainly for the children who need a little more support in their work. So if I found there was a child who really struggled with their literacy, then I decided that if I knew they liked music, I would decide to make their literacy into a song to help them learn in the best way possible. Lastly, it is crucial to put the children's well-being and self-esteem at the forefront of all of their learning. Now, each class and every child is going to be different. On one of my placements, I had a class which had very low levels of self-esteem, and they quite often found it difficult to put their faces next to something where they knew all of the other children in that class could see what they had chosen. I also had children who would like to put the faces next to those of their friends because they thought that they would then be grouped with them in the next challenge. Therefore, I decided to make boxes. This way, the children would put their faces in the boxes at the end of the lesson, and the other children and pupils wouldn't be able to see what they had put in there. Then when I set the challenges, the children would be able to know where they were but be based accurately, and then we were obviously respecting their rights. I hope this will help you in your future teaching. Thank you for listening.